Welcome back, friends. We are discussing group discussions in the previous lecture where we talked about both topic GDs as well as case GDs, and we also show you how when you participate in a GD there are times when the discussion comes to a halt because of the conflict. But then how can we come out of this conflict? Imagine yourself being a participant of the GD where you have something to say but you are not able to say, and then there are 2 or 3 members who start talking to each other and creating a lot of fuss. Here is the role of a leader. As you remember well, we have talked about the various theories of leadership, but what sort of a leader we can have in a GD and how we can follow in the footsteps of such a leader. How can leadership be exercised in a GD, and who will become a leader? As usual, if there is a case of designated leader or somebody appoints somebody a leader, he will arrange time, place, and the other ways. He also will decide the meeting agenda, and then at times the topic. He will try his level best to ensure the rest of the group, and the major task that he will do as a leader is to save the group. He is actually a leader, he is a savior here, and you also can become a savior. You know, any discussion where there is no leader, it is just like a boat which is having people full, but then nobody knows, and when they come in the midst of the river and they feel, who will help them? So here is a leader. So a leader is actually the main part of a group, and as a leader he will be responsible to save the group from getting sidetracked. Conflict arises because there are clashes of ideas or interest. Now whenever there is a clash and conflict, it is the leader who will help in the resolution of the conflict, and then the leader's eye will also fall on some people who are totally silent. So if a person who is totally silent, anyone can help, even you can also initiate, you can also try to encourage, persuade, goad the person to speak. So the inert participant to be brought back to the discussion, so that everyone has an idea, because there are people who are not many people are extrovert. There are some people who are introvert in your group, but then he also has to share his ideas. Only by little bit of encouragement he can come to start expressing his views, and the leader can also from time to time, if he feels that the group gets sidetracked, so he will summarize and then he will create such a situation where all the other members will start speaking and continuing. We have already talked about the types of leader in our previous talks. In certain cases there can be specific leader, there can be implied leader, there can be emergent leader, there can be designated, but the case of a leader in a GD is totally different. Here is a person who will emerge as an avatar, as a sort of incarnation. So suddenly you will find somebody will have that initial initiative, will have that guts to tell others, can we come to the mainstream of the discussion, can we come to the main issue, fine. So here is a leader who will emerge. So here is an emergent leader, emergent. Now who can be an emergent leader? Even you can be an emergent leader. Now you should have certain traits to be an emergent leader. What are these traits? What are these traits? The first is, all leaders have to be communicative. No, you should have a good communication ability. communication ability. Fine, unless and until you have that ability, you cannot convince others. So a leader, for that matter, has to be a person who has actually, what I have done is I have taken all the words of this term leader. So a leader has not to be very rigid, rather he has to be liberal. A leader has to be liberal in his attitude. He will see to it that everyone participates in the discussion. So the first letter L I analyze as liberal. So a leader has to be liberal. A leader also has to be eager and enthusiastic, eager to help, very enthusiastic. A leader also has to be a person who actually has a lot of knowledge. You are in a group discussion because you have knowledge. Unless and until you have a grasp of the subject, of course in a GD you are not supposed to have a lot of grasp about the entire subject, but then your previous knowledge will come to your aid. So a leader has to be a person who is eager. A leader has to be a person who shows his enthusiasm level in order to help the group come out of this ruckus, or come out of the conflict, come out of the problem, help each other. We use the term help each other swim, help each other sail, otherwise the discussion will come to a close. There have been cases of many discussions where some participants simply look at the topic and then they say, I don't agree with this and I think we do not have much to discuss. Now this should not be the spirit. So a leader finally has to be a democrat. What I mean by democrat is, as all of you believe, a democrat is a person who sees that everybody gets an opportunity to share his or her view. A democrat is a person who sees that nobody's sentiment is hurt. He also sees that everyone is treated fairly and the discussion continues in a better direction. A leader also at times he has to be assertive. And how can you assert? If you are not having the subject knowledge, if you are not having a sort of erudition, naturally you cannot assert. So you have to assert without becoming arrogant. So assert, when I say assert, I mean influence other people by your constructive ideas, and that will help you assert. If I am confident of myself, I can assert my point. So a leader has to be assertive. A leader also has to be an erudite, meaning thereby he should have subject knowledge. A leader also has to be rational. He should not have a sort of discriminatory attitude, and he should see that the discussion continues on the proper path, in the proper direction, and everybody participates. Now the question is, as sometimes you also might have felt that there are some people who never speak in the discussion. Now, are these people danger? Some of you might be thinking it is good that he doesn't speak, no? So you get more time? No. If you are in a group discussion, you have a group responsibility, as I discussed in the previous lecture. So as a group member, you should see that other members also participate. The question is, the panelist will see that why such a person is silent and nobody is taking any initiative. So the main task there is to persuade, to try to goad that person to speak, and that is possible simply by being polite, because there is a saying that an inert participant or a silent person in the group becomes a liability. Since you are not judged only because of your individual capability or behavior, but you are also judged because of the contribution of all other members in the group. You are judged both as a group, as an individual also. Hence, the need is to see that the inert people also speak, they also share. Panelist looks at everything. The panelist is a person. Now, what is the role of the panelist? That often you might be thinking. The panelist, after he has given you the topic, he is an observer. He plays the role of an observer. He is looking at certain things, how the entire discussion, maybe at times he is also jotting down certain notes. Now, a leader will influence the entire proceeding by his constructive participation, by his rational thoughts, and he will try to convince other participants of the importance of the view or importance of a particular line of thinking, and he actually tries to build a support by working with supporters in the group, logically weakening the opponent's point of view. I mean, if somebody takes a very extreme stance, I mean goes too further, and goes too further in a way that other people get aggrieved. Now, in such a situation, the leader will come to the aid, he will come to the help, and will try to save, and he will try again to fill the entire group with a sort of fillip, with a sort of enthusiasm, so that the discussion continues. Moreover, as I said, what are actually these panelists doing? How they are observing group behavior. They are looking who started the discussion, but then they are also looking at each other's reaction to each other. Because when you participate in a group discussion, you do not participate only verbally, rather you participate also non-verbally by showing your gesture, by showing your posture, by the pitch of the voice. Sometimes somebody speaks something, and in order to subdue him, you speak in a manner that may be hurting. So, what amount of loudness of the pitch you have maintained, that is also in the purview of the panelist. Panelist will see to it who are the participants, who speaks more, who speaks less, who actually started speaking but suddenly became silent. So, who are the low participators? Who are the high participators? If a high participator suddenly became a low participator, what actually may be the reason? So, he is looking into all the details. Are there any reasons? Because when you are participating in a discussion, you also have to be aware of the fact that nobody is hurt. There are many, depending upon the topic of GD, sometimes you find that if the topic is controversial, because the topics may at times be factual, the topic may be abstract, the topic may also be controversial. So, when there is a topic and you do not know what sort of topic you have been given, so if there is a topic which appears like being controversial, so during this discussion it has to be seen if somebody has been hurt religiously, somebody has been hurt ethically, somebody has been insulted. So, this is actually the task of the panelist. So, panelists see that why there is a shift in participation. Is it because somebody is going to support somebody, or is it because somebody is going to oppose somebody, or because somebody is trying just to pull his own weight and trying to subdue others? So, these are some of the questions which are on the panelist's mind. So, please be careful when, moreover, if somebody is silent, you will find, because you know that silent people become a liability on the entire group. So, in order to make him speak in the group, sometimes you take such a stance and you may speak a bit louder also. So, how are silent people treated in the group? If silent people really are being made to feel that they are a liability, no, this should not be done. Moreover, who keeps the ball rolling? I mean, you will find not everyone in the discussion continues to speak throughout, but the participation level is to be judged. Who speaks to whom and who keeps the ball rolling? There are some people who simply believe that they have parted their part well, they have acted their part well, now they do not have to do anything. throughout, as I said in the previous lecture also, you are to show your participation level, and for that you have to show your motivation. Throughout you have to remain motivated, committed in the GD. So if the participation level is not, naturally the discussion will not continue till the time given. So who keeps the ball rolling? There will be some people who will have more participation. Why they have more participation? Not because they only have ideas, but then they are more committed. All of you, both as an individual and as a group member, should show that you are supporting each other, supporting in a way. If you really believe that somebody is trying to augment or somebody is trying to develop your point, so you should support that. Panelist doesn't believe in the thing that since you did not speak a number of times, you did not participate. Actually he tries to ensure that either by supporting or by rejecting or by opposing, you have proved your point. So you should show an active interest in the proceedings by being involved throughout. That is what is important. Not that you spoke at one time and then suddenly became silent and you maintain that golden silence for a long time. That should not be the spirit. The spirit should be that you are thoroughly there, your presence is thoroughly there. Now the question is, how to prepare for a GD? This question you might come across most of the time, because as a prospective job seeker, as a prospective candidate, since you are to be judged in the first instance through a GD, so what should you do? Now when you go to the venue and if the seats are arranged, the first thing that you should do is seat yourself comfortably. Be comfortably seated. I mean, the way you sit, that actually reveals your non-verbal behavior. The way you start the discussion, and if somebody else has started the discussion, and the way you show your reaction, through that also you are showing your non-verbal behavior. So seat yourself comfortably, that is the first thing which you should do. Then listen to the topic. Many people, those who have often complaints that I don't know much, they are actually, I will call them that they are escapists, because they do not believe in listening. So if you listen to the topic, half the battle you can win if you listen to each and word very carefully. Some of the keywords, as I have been saying, lies in the topic itself. Suppose there is a topic, but then you should understand the meaning of the words which are in the topic. Some keywords will be there. Some word will suddenly ignite your thoughts. So listen to the topic carefully. Listening is an important ingredient of GD. We have been saying that if you listen, you will get some more point. You might, because most of us have a good many pieces of information which are lying in our subconscious, and the moment we listen a particular word, suddenly we actually become alive, and when you become alive, you start contributing to the group. So listen to the topic carefully. Now when you start speaking, before speaking, it is actually mandatory that you should organize your thoughts. When I say organize your thoughts, I mean whatever you have to say, organize it in such a manner. Suppose I am talking about some policies which I like, which I favor. So I may say the recent announcement of this appears quite logical and convincing. But then your case does not end there. You have to also talk about the attributes, why you feel, because reasoning is an important part of the GD. Hence all of you will see that if you speak one sentence, there has to be some follow-up sentences that will ensure that you are having a sort of information on that particular topic, and you have organized. And when you organize, don't speak only in short sentences or in short phrases. Please speak the complete sentence, and then when you speak, see that the sentence is grammatically correct. That is why I say organize your thoughts before speaking. Remember, all of you have to speak at the earliest opportunity. What do I mean by earliest opportunity? For that, you cannot snatch others' opportunities. You have, it is just like a crowded bus where you also deserve some space. So, how you will create your own space is your own endeavor. So, speak at the earliest opportunity, but while doing so, don't fight with others. There are other people also, because all the other participants in the group are like you. So, speak at the earliest opportunity, but see that if other person is speaking, you have to maintain some poise, you have to maintain some balance, you have to have some patience. Let him speak and then speak. But remember, don't allow others to speak continuously. The moment you feel that he has to be stopped, if there is a person who continues to speak for a long time, maybe you can just intervene and say something. But when you say something, that has to be very rational, because you are trying to see that time is being shared equally. If you have to say something, say it in a very polite manner. Say it in a very polite manner. As I have earlier talked, may I share my piece of mind, may I share my piece of information. I believe that what Mr. Suraj says may be right in a particular situation, but then this cannot be applied in all of the situations like this. Every situation has its own requirements. I mean, this is how you are proposing your own viewpoint by being polite. You also have to identify your supporters and your opponents. As we have been saying, that if your supporter is speaking something, you can keep mum, and if the need be, you can augment his thought. And if somebody is opposing, please listen to his views carefully, and then if you feel he needs to be countered, you can put your own views. So, identify your supporters and your opponents, but remember, because the panelist who has given you the time sees to it that everything is done well in time. Of course, so you have to see that you keep track of time, and time has to be shared fairly. Moreover, that should not stop you not from listening to others. Listen to others, and when you listen to others, through your body language, through your behavior, through your manner, so that you are committed. While you are speaking to somebody, please maintain eye contact, not only while speaking or putting your own point, but even also while listening. All your thoughts, all your ideas will be null and void if you do not maintain the eye contact while talking to your opponents or even to your supporters. But remember, since GD is such an opportunity where you have to share time fairly, at times what people do and that they create a blunder is they are in a great hurry and they simply feel that their space is being taken by others, their time is being taken by others. So, you have to have certain precautions, and one of these precautions, the very first of these precautions is, don't be in a hurry to start discussion, because if you have 20 minutes time, you will get your time, but you will have to show your own initiative. Never ever try to be silent in a group discussion. You have to speak something, and as I gave you the mantra, if you don't have any point and if you dare listen to people, perhaps you will get some points, because there is no dearth of point in a group discussion, since there are people who are expressing their views. Care should be taken that you will never dominate. No, simply some people are under the impression that if they dominate, they will be decided as leaders. That is actually a wrong thought. You know, simply by dominating you cannot become a leader. You actually, instead of dominate, let us use the word influence. You have to influence the group. And how can you influence? You can influence the group by your constructive suggestions, by your rational ideas, by your factual and supporting views. Never take the role of a chairman. Who is a chairman? Chairman is a person who actually gives judgment. No. So you are not to judge, you are to discuss. Know your roles and play your part well. You cannot become a spoil sport. I mean, you should not become a person who is going to kill, you know, the entire episode. So never take the role of a chairman, and do not ever take an extreme stance. Sometimes, you know, many people, what they do is they take an extreme stance and they become very judgmental, they become very ethical. You know, you have to be ethical, of course, but while discussing you should not show that you are the only person who knows everything and you are judgmental and you say you cannot do like this, you cannot speak like this. No, you do not have to do like this. You simply have to express your own viewpoints, and then you have to maintain that you are a participant as other participants. Of course, you may be exercising your leadership skills through different ways, by influencing, by trying to save the other people who are trying to create a chaos. Sometimes there may be situations where you feel like, you know, the views of some of the people you do not like. But then you should not waste time simply by arguing a lot with him. You know, he is as good a participant as you, so you need to express your own views, and he has also expressed his own views. So never ever enter into arguments. Many people, you know, all of us are humans, so sometimes it so happens if we find that there is a supporter of us, we start a sort of whispering or parallel conversations. So do not do that. Never enter into arguments with your opponents, nor even start whispering with your supporters. Let us try not to pass value judgments. Moreover, some people, while they participate in a group discussion, also start looking at the faculty or at the panelist, trying to influence him that he or she is speaking. But then that's a wrong trait. Never look at the faculty. And if somebody is not speaking, I mean, if there is a passive speaker, if there is an inert speaker, if there is an inert participant, there is no need to shout at him by using language which at times you feel are quite unbecoming, which are slangs. Never do that, you know, otherwise it will actually kill the spirit of the GD. Some people have often been seen that when they are in a GD and they are discussing, they start moving excessively. Sometimes in order to present their views and in order to try to subdue their partners, they actually move forward also. No, this is very wrong. You know, you need to maintain a sort of balance. You need to be in the chair. Your thoughts have to have, you know, your ideas have to have weight. You should not show your own weight. Moreover, if you feel that you have a lot of ideas, never put all the idea just in one go. If you speak everything just in one go, not only you are killing your own time, but you are also spoiling others' time. And some people feel that if I start speaking and if I speak very fast, trying to show, you know, your fluency and all, you have to be fluent, no doubt, but you do not have to speak so fast so that others may not understand. Otherwise, if others do not understand your line of thinking, is there any use of being in a GD? No. If you are a good speaker, you will maintain a proper pitch, a proper intonation, a proper articulation level in a manner that others also understand. And do not digress from the topic. It has often been seen that at times people, while showing their views, they deviate from their discussion, but then that will be mended and that will be done by the leader who will try to save the entire group. There are of course critical issues. As I said, the critical issue is of one person whom I have in my previous lecture called a person who tries to dominate. Such a person creates chaos, and he can appear like a bulldozer. So, and this bulldozer can be brought back to normalcy simply by finding some weakness or fault in the line of thinking. But then there is no need to be too vocal while handling turbulence. Turbulence is a part of the game, but the turbulence need to be controlled, and that can be controlled by rational ideas, by controlling the thoughts in a very positive manner. Of course, there are conflicts because of the nature of people, but then that also has to be restricted to a great amount, because there are some people who often while being very excited in order to prove their own points, sometimes they also forget the fact that in a GD there may be gender differences also, cultural differences also. There are some people who are very egoistic. All these things should be kept apart when you participate in a GD. Please see to it that you maintain a proper decorum once you are in a GD, because your main objective in a GD is to continue a discussion in a very coherent, in a very feasible, in a very rational, in a very logical, in a very democratic, in a very ideal manner, and this can be done if you maintain a sort of balance. How can this balance come out? You know, sometimes you may find that the group gets sidetracked. So at that point of time, there are certain measures you can define the problem, and as an active participant in the GD, you will feel that all of us have to look at both the sides of the coin, and whatever views you are going to say, you know, even if you are going to convince, there is no need that every GD will come to a proper consensus, but at least there should be a proper exchange of words. Trials should be made to reach a consensus, but sometimes there are certain topics where you feel there cannot be consensus, but at least you can put forth your own views. There are certain GD topics which you might be very curious to know about. GD topics differ from, you know, sometimes it may be, as I said, factual, brain drain should be stopped, human cloning should be banned. Sometimes it may be abstract also, sometimes it may be fictional also, sometimes it may be controversial also. For example, if there is a topic like money makes happy, but too much of money makes us dissatisfied and unhappy. If we say there should be no reservation in jobs, no, that again can be a controversial topic. If we say can all the places of religious importance be transferred or be changed to something else, now such topics can create a lot of, you know, discussion, but then care has to be taken that the discussion goes in a right manner and does not create much of a furor. My dear friends, keeping all these parameters into consideration when you go to participate in a GD, take a mool mantra, I mean take a solid stand, but your stand should be based on logic, and you should always follow the path that you are there to discuss, you are there not to quarrel, because sometimes through discussion and through argument you end up quarreling. Our main motto through GD is not to quarrel, but to express our views and come to a consensus, because it is not only your individual responsibility, but it is also the responsibility of a group, and a group as well as an individual, they contribute to each other, because every GD is a blend of individual responsibility and group responsibility. I do hope that with the sorts of points that we have discussed, now you might be bubbling, you might be getting excited to participate in a GD where you will use all these cautions, all these precautions and help yourself become an effective speaker, effective listener, and come across any GD topic. See to it that you contribute your own might and you become successful. Thank you very much.